The world shimmers, a mirage under a desert sun. Choices abound, or so we believe. But what if this perception of freedom is just that, a perception? What if the threads of our lives are not ours to weave, but are instead manipulated by unseen hands? Are we truly autonomous beings, captains of our own destinies? Or are we merely puppets, dancing to a tune we cannot hear, let alone control? The allure of freedom is undeniable, but the more we grasp at its elusive essence, the more it seems to slip through our fingers. Throughout history, brilliant minds have wrestled with the paradox of freedom. Some argue that our lives are predetermined, our choices merely illusions. Others contend that we are indeed the architects of our own realities. But even within these opposing camps, there is no easy resolution. The determinists struggle to reconcile their beliefs with the undeniable feeling of agency we experience. The existentialists grapple with the overwhelming burden of absolute freedom, the terrifying responsibility of creating meaning in a meaningless universe. And so we arrive at a crossroads, much like the solitary traveler in a dark wood. This documentary does not pretend to offer easy solutions or definitive pronouncements on the nature of freedom. Instead, it serves as an invitation, a catalyst for contemplation and dialogue. Are we truly free? To embark on this exploration, we must be prepared to challenge our assumptions, to confront uncomfortable truths, to delve into the depths of our own consciousness. We speak of freedom with a casual familiarity, as if its meaning were self-evident. Is it the absence of physical constraints, the ability to move and act without chains or bars? Or does it delve deeper, encompassing the realm of thought, of belief, of expression, unburdened by fear or censorship? Can we truly speak of freedom without acknowledging the invisible chains of societal expectations, the weight of cultural norms, the often unspoken rules that govern our behavior? The conversation takes on yet another layer of complexity when we consider the distinction between freedom from and freedom to. The former speaks to liberation from oppression, from tyranny, from the shackles that bind us both physically and metaphorically. Freedom to, on the other hand, suggests a realm of possibility, a space where individuals are empowered to pursue their own aspirations, to express their unique identities. But can these two facets of freedom ever truly exist in harmony? Does the pursuit of individual freedom to inevitably clash with the need for social order, for collective responsibility? Perhaps it is more helpful to envision freedom not as an absolute state, but as a spectrum, a fluid continuum along which we navigate throughout our lives. At one end lies the weight of totalitarianism, where every aspect of human existence is controlled, manipulated, and confined. As we move along this spectrum, we encounter varying degrees of restraint and liberation, from the subtle pressures of social conformity to the overt restrictions imposed by laws and regulations. The journey towards understanding freedom becomes a deeply personal one, a lifelong exploration of the boundaries and possibilities that define our individual and collective human experience. Imagine a universe where every atom, every particle, every force operates with predictable precision, like a perfectly calibrated clock. Determinists view the universe as a vast, intricate machine, governed by immutable laws of nature, where every event, every decision, every fleeting thought is merely the inevitable consequence of an unbroken chain of cause and effect. If every action is merely a reaction to preceding events, then are we truly the authors of our own lives, or simply characters in a cosmic play? This is not to suggest that determinists deny the richness or complexity of human experience. However, from the determinist perspective, these internal experiences too are simply products of our predetermined neural pathways. To grasp the full weight of the determinist argument, imagine a single domino standing upright, poised precariously at the edge of a table, but zoom out, and we see that this solitary domino is but one in a long line, each piece leaning against its neighbor, forming a chain that stretches back through the labyrinthine corridors of time. For the determinist, we are all like that final domino, our actions predetermined by the cascading consequences of events both monumental and mundane. The implications of this perspective are both profound and unsettling. If every choice we make is simply the preordained outcome of a chain of prior events, then what becomes of our cherished notions of moral responsibility, of personal accountability? We may believe we are choosing between different paths, weighing options, exercising our free will. But in reality, the choice itself, the factors we consider, the ultimate decision we make, all of it was already set in motion long ago. While determinists see our lives as intricately woven tapestries, existentialists view existence as a blank canvas, stark and daunting in its infinite possibility. They reject the comforting notion of a preordained universe, a cosmic script dictating our every move. For existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Simone de Beauvoir, the universe doesn't care about our hopes, our dreams, or our search for significance. If there is no grand plan, no divine blueprint guiding our steps, then we are truly free to define our own essence, to forge our own paths through the wilderness of existence. The existentialist embrace of freedom is not for the faint of heart. It comes at a cost, the constant gnawing awareness that our choices carry the weight of creating not only our own identities, but also the very fabric of meaning itself. This realization can be paralyzing, the source of profound anxiety and existential angst. This burden of freedom, this constant awareness of the potential for both triumph and tragedy inherent in every choice, is what Sartre termed anguish. The existentialist response to this anguish is not to shy away from the abyss of freedom, but to embrace it fully, to accept the weight of responsibility that comes with the realization that our choices have consequences. We cannot blame our upbringing, our genetics, or the whims of fate for the paths we choose or the lives we lead. This radical responsibility calls for an unwavering commitment to authenticity, to living in accordance with our own values, our own internal compass. We must choose in each moment to act in a way that reflects the individuals we aspire to be, to create meaning through the very act of living authentically. The existentialist perspective is not one of bleak pessimism or hopeless nihilism. It is a call to action, an invitation to embrace the freedom and responsibility that define our very humanity. If the universe is indeed a blank canvas, then we have the extraordinary opportunity to paint our own masterpieces, to infuse existence with meaning through our choices, our actions, and the legacy we leave behind. We create meaning by embracing the absurdity of existence, by finding beauty in the transient nature of life, by forging connections with others in the face of our shared mortality. The clash between determinism and free will has raged for centuries, leaving many stranded in a philosophical no-man's land. Compatibilism offers a life raft in this turbulent sea, a bridge across the seemingly insurmountable chasm separating these two opposing views. Compatibilists argue that the traditional dichotomy between determinism and free will is a false one, a product of our limited language and our tendency to think in binary oppositions. Instead of viewing freedom as the absence of any constraints, compatibilism proposes that we can be free even if our actions are in some sense predetermined. Imagine a fish swimming in a vast ocean. It is free to move in any direction, exploring depths, chasing prey, seeking cooler currents, yet it is bound by the laws of physics and its own biology. It cannot fly or breathe on land. Compatibilists argue this fish is still free. Its freedom lies in acting according to its own desires and instincts. Similarly, humans are bound by physical, genetic, and social constraints, yet we possess meaningful freedom within these constraints. Essential to the compatibilist perspective is a reframing of what we mean by choice. Traditionally, free will has been defined as the ability to have chosen otherwise, to have acted differently under the exact same circumstances. Compatibilists, however, find this definition both unhelpful and ultimately irrelevant to the question of whether or not we are truly free. They argue that our choices are not made in a vacuum, that they are always influenced by a complex web of internal and external factors. Our past experiences, our beliefs, our desires, our fears, all of these play a role in shaping the decisions we make. To imagine that we could rewind the tape of our lives and make fundamentally different choices while keeping everything else constant is to engage in a thought experiment that bears little resemblance to the reality of human experience. Instead of focusing on the illusory ability to have chosen otherwise, compatibilists suggest that we should instead examine the nature of the choices we actually make. Are they driven by our own internal motivations, our own values and desires, or are they coerced, manipulated, or otherwise imposed upon us by external forces? Compatibilism then offers a more nuanced and ultimately more satisfying way of understanding the paradox of freedom. It allows us to acknowledge the reality of a deterministic universe governed by laws of cause and effect without sacrificing our deeply held belief in our own agency, our capacity to make choices that matter. It reminds us that freedom is not an all-or-nothing proposition, but rather a spectrum of possibilities that unfolds within the constraints of our physical and social realities. This perspective has profound implications for how we view ourselves, our relationships, and our place in the grand tapestry of existence. It encourages us to take responsibility for our choices, even as we recognize the complex web of factors that shape our desires and motivations. It invites us to cultivate a deep understanding of ourselves and the world around us, so that we can navigate the terrain of our lives with greater awareness, compassion, and purpose. As we stand at the cusp of a new technological era, the age-old questions surrounding freedom take on a renewed urgency. The digital revolution promises unprecedented access to information, but also raises concerns about our freedoms in a hyperconnected world. We live in a digital panopticon, our every move tracked and analyzed. From the moment we wake to the last click before sleep, our digital footprints paint a detailed portrait of our lives. This data can predict behavior, influence choices, and manipulate emotions. Algorithms maximize profit, not our well-being or autonomy. This pervasive sense of being watched can chill our willingness to express ourselves freely. Beyond the watchful eyes of the digital panopticon lies a threat to our freedom, the algorithms that shape our perceptions and choices. These complex formulas act as gatekeepers of information, determining what we see and read. This can lead to filter bubbles and echo chambers, narrowing our perspectives. Algorithms begin to think for us, limiting exposure to diverse viewpoints and challenging ideas. This has profound implications for our freedom of thought and critical thinking. The challenges to freedom posed by the digital age are undeniable, but they are not insurmountable. Technology can erode our autonomy, but it can also promote transparency, accountability, and empowerment. Awareness is the first step, understanding how our digital footprints are tracked and monetized. We must demand transparency from tech companies and advocate for privacy regulations. Support ethical technologies designed for human well-being, not just profit. As we emerge from this exploration of freedom, we find ourselves back where we began, at a crossroads of ideas, perspectives, and unsettling questions. The paradox endures. The deterministic view, with its intricate web of cause and effect, challenges our deeply held beliefs in free will and moral responsibility. The existentialist perspective, while liberating in its embrace of radical freedom, burdens us with the awesome weight of creating meaning in a meaningless universe. Compatibilism offers a compelling middle ground, suggesting that freedom can exist within constraints, that our choices, while shaped by a multitude of factors, can still be authentic expressions of our values and desires. And yet the digital age presents new challenges as our online lives are increasingly surveilled, manipulated, and shaped by algorithms designed not to promote our autonomy, but to maximize profit and control. The answers, it seems, are not to be found in tidy pronouncements or definitive conclusions. The very nature of freedom, with its inherent complexities and contradictions, defies easy categorization, remaining an enigma, a philosophical riddle that continues to captivate and confound us. But perhaps this is precisely as it should be. The true value of contemplating freedom lies in embracing the journey itself, the ongoing exploration, the questioning of assumptions. It's in the asking, in the grappling, that we begin to grasp the true measure of our own freedom. Whether we embrace determinism, existentialism, or compatibilism, engaging with these ideas empowers us. We are active participants in the unfolding story of our lives. The paradox of freedom may endure, but so does our capacity for growth and awareness.